So let's take a look at the production possibilities curve, because we're going to take that abstract stuff, a scarcity, choice, opportunity cost, and these factors of production, and we're going to actually show how they work in a diagram. Okay. But first, let's take a look at the fundamental definition of production possibilities curve. Now, in your econ course, this might also be referred to as the production possibilities frontier. Production possibilities curve, production possibilities frontier, the exact same thing, okay? So don't get discouraged if you're like, curve isn't the frontier. Yeah, it's the frontier. They're totally the same thing. Okay. Production possibilities curve, or the PPC, shows the maximum contributions of goods, start over. It shows the maximum combinations of goods and services that can be produced by an economy in a given time period if all resources in the economy are being used fully and efficiently and the state of technology is fixed. Okay, you got that? That is a classic econ example of all of these all of these assumptions that are made throughout it. So let's go through it again. A production possibilities curve shows the maximum combinations of goods and services that can be produced by an economy in a given period of time if all resources in the economy are being used fully and efficiently and the state of technology is fixed. And this is what economists do. I say that economists are like, it's like making a Google slide. Like, it's a flat thing. It's a snapshot or just a photo. It's not a video. Economics, you're never studying the whole video. You're studying screenshots of life, okay? And those screenshots are necessary. You can't study a video. You can't study economics like you would look at a video because there's too many variables going on. You have to freeze them into one particular moment of time, right? A particular given period of time, if all resources are being used fully and efficiently and the state of technology is fixed, okay? Then you can produce the diagram, okay? So there it is. So you're sitting here probably staring at this diagram, and I wanted you just to see what it looks like because that's the complete one. But on the next two slides, we're going to construct it. Okay, here we go. All right, so the first thing to realize in the production possibilities curve, okay, is that there are going to be two goods, one on the vertical axis and one on the horizontal axis. And now it can be anything. The common economic example, like old school, is like guns and butter, which is just to say in an economy, this is a macroeconomic thing, which means you're talking about like countrywide economic activity. A government can produce military goods and services and also civilian goods and services. But to understand this diagram, you actually could use any two products, but the assumption is that those are the only two products that your economy produces, okay? So I made up, for my production possibilities curve, for the vertical axis, iPhones, okay? And I made up on the horizontal axis that in our economy, we're talking about our country, we make mountain bikes. So this country that you and I live in make iPhones and mountain bikes, okay? Next assumption, we're going to assume that there are only 20 people who live in our country, okay? 20 people. And we're going to assume, and therefore, and we're going to assume that all 20 of those people are equally good at making iPhones and making mountain bikes, okay? Which means that in one day, and let's just make believe because we can, let's say that it takes one day for a person to either make an iPhone or a mountain bike, okay? So if we have everybody making iPhones, how many iPhones are we going to have at the end of the day? 20. If, though, we don't make any iPhones, but everybody is making a mountain bike, how many mountain bikes are we going to have at the end of the day? 20. Okay. Pause the tape. Listen. This is the way I teach the production possibilities curve. I'm about to draw a straight line. And you might have seen on the last slide that the slide was, of course, it's actually an arced line or curved line. I know that. But if you understand it like this, oh my goodness gracious, the understanding of the curved lines is going to make so much more sense, okay? So in our economy, we can either make 20 iPhones or 20 mountain bikes. And the reason for that is that we have 20 people in our economy who are equally good at making those products. And so you can imagine, right, that we could end up with a line like that. And what does this line say? It says that if we have everybody making an iPhone, 20 iPhones. If we have everybody making a mountain bike, 20 mountain bikes. But what if we want to make one mountain bike and 19 iPhones? Oh, okay, we can do that. So what are we going to do? We're going to function right here. Where is that? Well, that's right here with 19 iPhones and one mountain bike. What if we want 10 and 10? Oh, that's easy. We're going to operate right there. That's 10 and 10, right? Well, what if we want to make 19 mountain bikes, right? And only one iPhone. Oh, there's 1 and 19. So if we look at those numbers and the line is straight, we see something really intriguing. That's opportunity cost. You see, we can't just make as much as we want. No, because we only have 20 people in our economy, in our country. And we went with this assumption that the state of technology is fixed. We're talking about a given period of time, which I made up to be 1 day. And we're either going to allocate our resources because we have a choice because things are scarce. Oh my gosh, scarcity, opportunity cost, choice. That we're either going to make some combination of 20 goods. We're either going to have 10 and 10, 19 and 1, 2 and 18, 18 and 2, 15 and 5, blah, 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 right? So that line would be a straight line, as I've just drawn it, going from 20 down to 20, okay? And you can also see, I think, you could also see, and this is really key, that like we could never operate out there. Because a point out there would be like making 11 and 11, right? 11 and 11. That's not possible. Why? Well, we don't have 22 people, okay? So do you understand that? Good. Now, that's fantasy land, dude. Fantasy land. Why? Because there are people who are better at making iPhones than mountain bikes because let's face it, whatever skills it takes to make a mountain bike are not similar or exactly the same as the skills it would take to make an iPhone. So actually, in our economy, we're going to have experts in mountain bikes and experts in iPhones. So the way to think about this is like, let's assume that we have 10 experts in mountain bikes and 10 experts in iPhones. Okay, where then would we operate? We would operate right here, right where I said, right at 10 and 10. Okay, we have all the people that are really good at making iPhones, right? All the people that are really good at making iPhones, making iPhones. We have all the people that are really good at making mountain bikes, making mountain bikes. But let's assume for a second that you are an expert in mountain bikes and I am an expert in iPhones. You want me making iPhones and you making mountain bikes. But what if we decided to try to make, but if we all of a sudden decided to have everybody make iPhones, guess what? You're not good enough at it. Probably if you're an expert in mountain bikes, you could only make, say, 19, or sorry, rather than being able to make a whole mountain bike in a day, no, sorry, you're a mountain bike expert, and you wouldn't be able to make a perfect iPhone in a day. You wouldn't make one in a day. You maybe make like half an iPhone in a day. And so as a result of that, we would never be able to make 20 iPhones. And I'm an expert in iPhones. If you make me make a mountain bike, boo, man, I cannot make a mountain bike in a day. And therefore, what we see is as things get scarce, we also see this notion of specialization. If I am an expert in mountain bikes, or I'm sorry, I am an expert in iPhones, you want me making an iPhone, and I want you making the mountain bike. But if we force everybody to make one, we would not end up with 20 of one or 20 of the other. We'd actually end up with less. So here's the whole thing, and my friends, listen, listen, listen. This is the difference between really fully understanding this concept and not. The production possibilities curve is bowed inward, where at the sides, at the sides, at the sides, it's tucked in right here. This goes there. This goes there, okay? If we have the perfect allocation of resources of 10 and 10, we're going to end up with 20 products. But as we go closer to making everybody make one product, not everybody's equally good because of this notion of specialization. Likewise, over here, we're not going to be able to have, we're not going to have 20 mountain bikes because the experts in iPhones are not equally good at making mountain bikes. And therefore, guess what, my friends? The production possibilities curve is actually curved. Last little bit, and I'm going to layer this in there for later. The production possibilities curve also shows us the total amount of goods and services we can make if all of our factors of production are fully employed. And I'm telling you, my friends, that's fantasy. It's not possible, right? So most countries don't even really know where their production possibilities curve actually is. And the reason for that is it's impossible to add up the total production possibilities, total possible production factors in your country. And so when you use this later on, and this is when you get into your studies of macroeconomics, it's impossible for a country to actually operate on its production possibilities curve. Where they operate is somewhere inside it, okay? Like there, like point X or point Y, but they would never be able to function at point Z. Never, ever, ever on the actual production possibilities curve. And the reason for that is that no matter what happens, there's always going to be someone who's sick. There's always going to be someone who's not trying their hardest. There's always going to be a broken pizza oven, a broken down cab, some factory that's not working to full capacity, right? And so the production possibilities are actually inside that curve, okay? Secondly, layering this in there, the way we could show economic growth, just listen, don't worry about this right now. If you want to show economic growth, that's a rise in the number of things that you produce, the value of the things you produce. You could show that by a movement from X to Y, okay? Now, last topic on this point. You might say, could we ever focus or function out here at point A? And the answer is no, unless, here it comes, we improve the quantity of the quality of what? The factors of production. Land, labor, capital, entrepreneurship. And this is where people matter. Because if a country wants to improve and produce beyond, like actually produce more goods and services in its country, it needs more land, labor, or capital, or it needs higher quality land, labor, or capital. And this is one of the reasons why you want to understand that immigration is really good for a country. Because the more people there are in a country, the more possibilities there are to produce things, okay? So the only way to actually operate out there at point A is if the whole production possibilities curve shifts outward, right? I didn't make it connect. Out there. And the way that would happen is an improvement in land, labor, capital, or entrepreneurship. A country like Chile could improve its production possibilities by taking over its neighbor Argentina. Improving the land. What about the labor? It could have a more highly educated populace or more immigrants coming in. What about capital? It can build up its resources by having better ports, better roads, and whatnot. And as a result, the total possibilities of production would expand outward. All right. That one might make you feel a little bit overwhelmed. I layered in some things there at the end that maybe are beyond what you're comfortable with, but I'm telling you, it's important to get it in your mind now because they're going to come back later. And the other thing is, like, you can do this, right? You can do this. Just take your time, work through these diagrams, make sure you can draw them cold, make sure you understand how to define these terms, but also know that once you get it, man, you never, ever forget. Okay, so there you go. Production possibilities curve. Onward to the next video.